Hello, student, and welcome to an intermediate episode of the ESL Teacher Can podcast, where I help you improve your English skills and confidence. I'm your host, Kendrick Channer, and today we're going to talk about how to use adverbial expressions to answer questions with how. This is a common source of confusion for many English learners, so I hope this episode will clear things up for you. So, first of all, what are adverbial expressions? Adverbial expressions are phrases that modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs. They usually answer questions like how, when, where, why, or how much. For example, in the sentence, she ran quickly to the bus stop, the word quickly is an adverb that modifies the verb ran and answers the question, how did she run? In the sentence, he was very happy with his test results. The phrase very happy is an adverbial expression that modifies the adjective happy and answers the question, how happy was he? Now, let's focus on the question how. There are different ways to answer this question depending on the context and the meaning. Sometimes we use a single adverb like quickly, well, badly, slowly, etc. For example, how did you finish the project? I finished it quickly. How did you play the piano? I played it well. How did you cook the chicken? I cooked it badly. How did you drive the car? I drove it slowly. Other times, we use an adverbial expression with by or with to show the method, means, or instrument that we use to do something. For example, how did you learn English? I learned it by watching movies and reading books. How did you travel to Europe? I traveled by plane. How did you open the door? I opened it with a key. How did you make the cake? I made it with eggs, flour, and sugar. The difference between by and with is that by usually indicates an action or a process, while with usually indicates an object or a tool. For example, how did you pay for the coffee? I paid by credit card. How did you cut the paper? I cut it with scissors. Sometimes both by and with are possible, but they may have different meanings or nuances. For example, how did you communicate with your friends? I communicated by email. I communicated with email. The first sentence implies that email was the only or the main way of communication, while the second sentence implies that email was one of the possible ways of communication. So, to summarize, we use adverbial expressions to answer questions with how, in different ways depending on the context and the meaning. We use a single adverb to describe the manner or the quality of an action or a state. We use an adverbial expression with by or with to show the method, means, or instrument that we use to do something. And now, let's practice what we learned with some examples. I will ask you a question with how, and you will answer it using an adverb or an adverbial expression with by or with. You can pause the podcast after each question and think of your answer. Then, you can resume the podcast and check your answer with mine. Ready? Let's begin. How did you get to work today? Answer with bus. I got to work by bus. Next question. How did you write the report? Answer using pen. I wrote the report with a pen. How did you feel after the exam? Use relieved. I felt relieved. How did you study for the test? Use notes and exercises. I studied with notes and exercises. Now, let's try to make an example using a process. So, same question. How did you study for the test? Use reviewing my notes and doing some exercises. I studied by reviewing my notes and doing some exercises. Let's do one more. How did you decorate the room? Use balloons and streamers. I decorated it with balloons and streamers. How did you do? Did you answer correctly? I hope you found this experience helpful and fun. If you want more practice, you can try to make your own questions and answers with how and adverbial expressions. Check out the book English Sentence Structure, an intensive course in English by Robert Krohn and the University of Michigan Press. On pages 126 through 129, we practice in conversational pairs. That is pages 139 through 142 of the PDF available to use for free in the podcast episode descriptions. English Sentence Practices, pages 176 through 178 for the written practice are pages 502 through 504 on the same online PDF document. And that's all for today's episode. Thank you for listening and supporting the ESL Teacher Can podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel, where you can find more videos and resources to improve your English. Also, if you are interested in taking private lessons or joining my conversation club, you can contact me directly to my WhatsApp or at eslteacherken@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you and help you achieve your language goals. Remember that English is easy. You just need to practice. Until then, see you next class.